Welcome to the Best Believe podcast. I'm your host, Michaela. I know what it feels like to have my head submerged underwater, not knowing how I'll get back up again. It wasn't until I reached my hand out to Christ and started implementing His word that I was able to move toward the journey of my dreams without the pain or overwhelm. This podcast is dedicated to helping you walk in your purpose, showing you that you aren't alone in your struggles, and that you can get unstuck and become the person God destined you to be in your faith, business, health, and life. You can expect mindset strategies, tips, and purpose-driven action to help you turn your crisis into opportunity. I'm here to show you there is purpose in your pain, and when you fall, I'll remind you that you are a warrior and you will get back up no matter what season you're in. You aren't alone. Best believe we are going to get through this together. Welcome to the Best Believe podcast. I am your host, Michaela, and this episode is going to give you so much hope in the current season that you're in. It's going to be piggybacking off of the last two episodes about having the courage to start and having faith in what God called you to do. I want to thoroughly dissect what it actually looks like to start something that takes courage, and a real life example of what moving by faith looks like, knowing God is going to provide as long as I keep moving. I really pray that this blesses you because I'm going to be using my own personal experience about the current process of building a business named Made by the Word, which is something I'm super passionate about and is something I'm grateful that God chose me to start. But before I ever got started, I had to have the courage, and I was super nervous. I may have some new listeners here, so I just want to explain what Made by the Word is. Made by the Word is a company that God blessed me with to start. This company is about providing chain-breaking tools that equip you with the faith, the mindset, and the habits to help you fulfill the destiny that God gave you. So as of right now, we have the Best Believe Journal, and I'm currently working on another one that's going to be releasing very soon. And if you would love to check us out, you can find us on Instagram at Made by the Word. And if you want to purchase a journal, you can click the link in the show notes, the link in the bio on Instagram, or you can search Amazon and just type in the Best Believe Journal. Before starting Made by the Word, I thought about all of the reasons why there is no way He is calling me to create this company. I thought about things like I didn't go to school for it. I went to school to be an RN. I didn't have any money. I had just lost my job. I didn't have any connections or know anyone who could give me a point of reference in creating or publishing a book. I struggle with writing. I actually took remedial writing in college because I scored so low on my entrance exam. I had a hard time expressing myself. These thoughts that I had in my head initially led me to wondering why He would use me when I felt like I lacked, and I wasn't confident in my ability to be able to do it. I thought of all of the reasons it couldn't be me. And I don't know if you've ever felt this way about something you know you've been called to, but I just want you to remember it's normal to have these thoughts, but it's about how you decide to respond to them. So despite how I felt, I submitted to where He was calling me to, and I trusted Him. I took messy action, understanding that the reasons why I felt my past disqualified me was the exact reason why God qualified me. And because I said yes, which I hope you say yes, came spiritual warfare. Everything started to go wrong. And this isn't to discourage you, but just to prepare you of what is going to happen. My dog tore his ACL. I lost my job, like I was telling you. My TV randomly fell off the wall and broke. I started to be afraid of speaking and showing up online through my podcast, through social media, which is something that I didn't have fear about beforehand. So the enemy was doing everything that he could to distract me and keep me from continuing to keep moving and keep the momentum going. For a moment, I'm not going to lie, I allowed those distractions to take my focus in a bunch of moments along the way. I wasn't perfect, but eventually I realized I cannot be more obedient to my emotions than God. I reminded myself that it was going to be uncomfortable. I wasn't going to know everything. But I knew as long as I kept faith in who God is and who He says that I am, God was going to make a way. So here is how it started. Maybe you can receive revelation through how this process has went for me from the very beginning. And then I want to break down some important things that contributed to me following through with the vision. So let's get into how it started. I was watching a sermon and I heard "made by the word," and it stuck with me. So I wrote it down and I kept going back to it over and over and over. I then started getting visions of how it looked on a piece of paper or how it looked on a shirt. And after that kept happening, I would wake up in the middle of a nap and I would draw it out on a piece of paper just to see what it looked like so that I didn't forget. I prayed and questioned what I was supposed to do with this information because I didn't know what to do. But I started to make moves, trusting that if I was moving in the wrong direction, God would convict me, the Holy Spirit would convict me, and I would be led another way. So I prayed, I fasted, I asked for wisdom, I stayed hungry for His word. Eventually, I opened a LLC, and at this point in time, having a book wasn't even on my mind. I just knew that this was a way to protect what God had given me. Plus, I knew that a business would be started eventually. But keep in mind, I had no idea how to do this. And I still get lost. So I had to do research. And I'm not ashamed of that because I didn't have the money at the time to afford a lawyer, and I still don't. So I have to take my due diligence and go do all the research or reach out to people to see who can help me, ask someone who maybe has a business. So if you don't know anyone who has a business, you don't have the funds to get a lawyer, there are so many free resources online. You don't have to be stuck in saying, I don't know how to do this, so I'm just not going to do it. Months later, God pushed me to write the Best Believe Journal, which I'm grateful so many of you have purchased and reviewed. And I'm glad that it is helping you along your journey because God is doing some big things through this company. And I'm grateful that you get to be a part of it. And when God told me to write this journal, I responded immediately. I sat and I wrote and I created the entire thing within 3 days. That means that I brainstormed, I wrote it, I typed it up, I designed all of the pages, I designed the cover, picked the color of it, and I launched it within the same exact week. It definitely was a humbling process, but I had such a strong desire to finish it and complete it because God told me to, that I didn't let anything get in my way. I didn't have a logo. I didn't have brand colors. Made by the Word did not have a social media presence. All the things that people say you need to have to start, I did not have. All I had was my heart and a word God told me. And I didn't allow what I didn't have to keep me from starting. So here are a few things that I did that contributed to me following through with the vision. I utilized the 8 steps mentioned in the Courage to Start episode, which I believe is episode 38. And for a full breakdown, make sure you go back and listen. Within my plan, I wrote out everything that I would need to make it happen. So even all of the things that seem so far-fetched, I wrote them down and used those as a goal. I prayed and I asked God to send me someone that will help me with this vision He has for me because it's too big for me to do by myself. For example, even though I didn't have a professional logo made yet, I put something together until God connected me with someone who could create one for me. And keep in mind, when I was connected with this person, they did it for free. So something that would have cost me hundreds of dollars, this person did it for free out of the kindness of their heart. And I didn't know who he was going to use to help me, but I believed he was going to send someone my way. And that's exactly what I received. I kept showing up, utilizing what I had until the prayer came to fruition. If you need a logo created, I want you to check out Aesthetics Creative Design. Any design that you need, she will do it. She never asked me for anything in return. And so I just want to make sure that I show her some love in the best way that I can. And that's by sending you her way. She is someone that will take care of you and she loves God. So yeah, whenever you feel like you need something for your business or whatever it is that God sent your way, you can go ahead and check her out. Another thing that I did is that I made sacrifices in my routine. This meant that I needed to be intentional about every decision I was making. I woke up earlier in the morning to be able to read and study the word. I carved out time in my day to work on what he was calling me to do. There were so many things that I sacrificed, especially my sleep and my relaxation time. Through being intentional, it became a part of what I do. I didn't have to think as hard about it because it was a part of my routine. And that's kind of the same thing when you work out. When you work out, it's very hard to show up every single day or however many times a week that you plan. But as you keep going and days pass by, weeks pass by, months pass by, you don't even have to force yourself to go because you thoroughly enjoy it and you're excited about going because it's a part of your routine. Another thing, I asked God for my next step and insight on what I should do within my business. I moved when he said move, and I stayed still when he said it wasn't time yet. For example, I'm currently working on a new journal, but before I decided to start working on one and release it, I prayed and asked God to determine what is a specific journal that he wants me to put out next, because I don't want to release the right thing at the wrong time. Because I don't want to do anything by my own works, but through the help and guidance of God. It is so that the glory is on everything that is released through this brand. I also kept up the momentum. I never quit, despite what was happening around me, despite what chaos was going on, despite the current circumstance that I was in. I never quit. I kept showing up, doing the hard things, even when I didn't feel like it, nor did I allow what I didn't have keep me from moving. So by continuing to do all of the things that I mentioned, Made by the Word now has an active Instagram page, so I would absolutely love if you could follow us. I let go of my personal TikTok page and rebranded it into my business page. So the reason why this stands out so much is because my personal TikTok page had 30,000 plus followers. I don't know the exact amount, but for someone to let go of their own fame, I would say, I'm not even going to say I'm famous. I'm not at all, but I can't think of another term at this moment. So I let go of the personal fame and I gave that entire page to the business to make a sacrifice to give this brand an increased chance at growth. You won't find a lot of people doing that because it did take a lot of work, but I understand that God is the one who gave me that platform, and I'm willing to give it away if he says to give it away. And I believed in that moment that that is what God was guiding me to do, so I did it. This brand is just so important to me because God gave me such a big vision for this brand, which means that I'm going to need a team. I want to order from a manufacturer. I want to sell wholesale. There's so many things that I want to do that I don't have the capability to do at this moment. But I also know that even though that I am not there, I can still appreciate where I am and enjoy the journey of building something that I alone cannot do. So I want to give you some reminders as you continue to walk on the journey to your dreams. This is something that I heard on church on Sunday from Sarah Jakes Roberts, and I just want to repeat it to you because it really stuck with me and I felt like it would inspire you and help you along this path. When God tells you to move, it's not predicated on what you think you have. It's what God knows you have within you, and that He will be with you there along the way. Start thinking like you got one shot to build this business, to lose this weight, to start this podcast. How would you move if you only had one shot? Remember that God wouldn't tell you to start something and leave you hanging. If there is one thing that you need to learn right now, coming from an entrepreneur who is figuring it out along the way, it's that you don't need to have everything figured out to start. You might lack the money or even the resources, but you can utilize what you do have. Sometimes our minds trick us into having analysis paralysis, and we choose not to start because we don't have what we think we need. When in reality, God placed everything you need inside of you. Utilize what's already in your hands, and He will provide for you every step of the way. So I started where I could. I utilized what was already in my hands. I knew publishing on Amazon is free. I knew utilizing Canva to design is free. And although I wanted to order from a manufacturer and package my own orders, I didn't allow where I was to keep me from moving when God said to move. So this is your encouragement to embrace the journey and keep pushing, knowing that God is not going to let you fail. I hope you have the most amazing week. Stay tuned for next week's episode on the Best Believe podcast.